episode, I want to talk about the Miami Heat's rankings. I dropped a tweet thread earlier today breaking down where the Miami Heat rank statistically this season. And honestly, I think it explains a lot so far and why this team wins games, why they lose games, why they frustrate people, and why the margin for error feels razor thin every single night. And this isn't like a blow it up take, or this isn't the Miami Heat or contenders take either. They're pretty average. They're the sixth seed, which I think is great. I'm happy they're not in the play-in if the season ended today. But yeah, we've already played 40% of the games that the Miami Heat are going to play this season. So let's walk through what the Miami Heat's numbers and rankings tell us so far. And this right now looks like a volume offense. So the first thing that jumps off the page is in terms of points per game, the Miami Heat are the third highest scoring team in the NBA. Field goal attempts, they're number one. They're taking the most field goals in the NBA, and they're making the fourth most field goals. And that's not accidental. So Miami scores because they get a ton of shots up, quite frankly. They're not a finesse offense. They're not going to rely on overwhelming talent. We have talented players, obviously, across this roster with Norman Powell and Bam and Tyler and Wiggins and whatnot, but they are surviving by creating more possessions every single game than the other team. And the reason why they have more possessions than other teams is it's coming through ball movement. It's coming through their offensive system and structure now this season. They're not turning the ball over, which is a good thing. And quite frankly, this is coming from their coaching. So this is why the Heat can look ugly and still win games. And last season, when we lost a ton of double digit fourth quarter leads, a lot of clutch games, we were playing horribly and ugly and losing those games. But right now, they're playing the math. And this is where it does get interesting because the Miami Heat, in terms of 3-point shooting, they may seem like they're not a great 3-point shooting team. We don't have a lot of great high level shooters on this team right now. Fontecchio was shooting lights out, but he's not even in the rotation anymore. Tyler is probably our best 3-point shooter. He's only played 6 games the entire season. Norman Powell is definitely one of our best shooters. A lot of the other guys are streaky that are on the bench, like Nico, like Drew Smith, like Pella Larson. So like Davion Mitchell. Andrew Wiggins even is streaky. But anyway, in terms of 3-point percentage right now, the Miami Heat are ranked sixth. So they're sixth in making 3-point shots, essentially, based on the percentages. In terms of the attempts, they are 21st. So they're bottom 10 in 3-pointers taken. And in terms of 3-pointers made, they're also 20th. So they're bottom 10. So the Heat are actually not bad at making threes. They're good at making threes. The problem is they're just not taking very many 3-pointers in each and every game. So when people say that the Heat can't shoot, that's not completely accurate. It is possibly a problem that we're going to deal with throughout the season. But again, we're taking high volume shots, but 3-pointers are not like a high volume thing for this Miami Heat. So the real issue though with the 3-point shooting, I think, is and why we're not getting as many attempts besides not having a ton of 3-point shooters on the roster. We have capable shooters for sure. But the real issue is the spacing, the volume in general, and then the shot generation. We don't have a true point guard, an elite point guard, a Steph Curry out there, a Kyrie Irving, a Trey Young, or whoever, a Luca that can, set up his teammates by being a elite 3-level scorer that has so much gravity that they're able to create spacing and opportunities for their team. They don't have enough natural pull-up threats or movement shooters that force defenses to bend. And so even when they do shoot well, it's fragile. And when the Miami Heat were on their losing streak, they were packing the paint and daring the Miami Heat to shoot threes. And we had a cold stretch where we were not making our threes and players were playing bad. And they were protecting the rim and not letting us get into the paint and not letting Jaime Jaquez get into the paint or Norman Powell or Bam Adebayo. So that is going to be a huge issue for this Miami Heat team. And that's why the offense feels inconsistent. When the threes fall, everything looks great. This team looks amazing. They're on a 3-game winning streak right now. They've been shooting a lot better, of course. But when they don't hit those threes efficiently, because they don't take enough or take a lot, then the math doesn't math. And then it's a grind, essentially. So that's the biggest issue. So this is also why blaming one player for offensive dips never really works. The roster is built on thin margins as is right now. And so that is a problem that we're going to have to deal with moving on with the remainder of the season. So let's talk about Eric Spoelstra. Like Eric Spoelstra is up and down, obviously. He's very polarizing on Heat Twitter for some reason. A lot of folks hate Eric Spoelstra and thinks he holds players back and thinks he's a bad coach, which the consensus is with owners, executives, analysts, players. They all think he's the best coach or one of the best coaches in the NBA. I want to say shout out to Barbara Roach, just subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for the support. Barbara says, I'm a Warriors fan. I live in San Francisco. I am not a Warriors fan, obviously. I'm a Miami Heat fan, but I am a Bay Area sports fan besides basketball. So I am a San Francisco Giants fan and a Niners fan. So thank you for the support, Barbara. I appreciate you. So anyway, um, with the rest of the rankings for the Miami Heat ranks 7th overall in assists, which is good. That means there's not like outside of Norman Powell right now because Tyler Hero's been out. There's no other elite scorers, so they have a lot of ball movement, which is good, and a lot of different guys step up each and every single game. They have 6th fewest turnovers in the NBA, which is obviously huge. So that's definitely helped them win games. And again, we're 18 and 15, only 3 games above 500. So there is thin margin for error. And so keeping the ball and not turning the ball over has been huge for the Miami Heat. Defense, we are the 4th defensive rated team in the NBA. That is our calling card, our bread and butter always, especially with an Eric Spoelstra coach team. We are 6th in steals, which is great. But then we don't have any rim protection, even though we have Khalil Ware, who's been great. But we're 20th in blocks per game. So rim protection is something that we've had an issue with for a long time, even with Bam Adebayo, as we have an undersized team. We just have really Khalil, Bam, and Jovic. Jovic has been injured, out of the rotation, except for the last 3 games. Jovic has been back. He's been playing amazing. So shout out to Nico, but we're not a very big team. The Miami Heat, again, some of their strengths, moving the ball, taking care of the ball, and creating chaos defensively. Davion Mitchell's great. Bam is great. Khalil is getting a lot better on the defensive end, which is good. Jaime has been a great defender off the bench. Pelle Larsson, that guy exudes Miami Heat culture. He's a great tenacious defender as well. So we do have some good pieces, obviously, on the defensive end. Andrew Wiggins, obviously one of the best two-way wings in the NBA. So this is how the Miami Heat survives talent gaps. They manufacture edges. But here's the flip side. When you're relying on execution instead of talent, everything has to go well. Everything has to be clean. There's no SGA. There's no Luka. There's no Anthony Edwards who could just bail you out. Steph Curry who could just get a bucket when you absolutely need one. That's the issue with this team. Like, I love Tyler, I love Norm, but they are not those guys. They are not number one options on a winning team. So that is always going to be a problem for the Miami Heat. In terms of rebounding, here's one that looks good until you look a little bit closer. Total rebounds, they're 6th, which is great, but offensive rebounds, they're 20th. So yes, they rebound well overall, but they're not getting many second chance opportunities, which is another reason why they lose some games. That tells you a lot. A lot of times other teams are getting a ton of offensive rebounds, and we've lost games against the Magic, against the Knicks, against other teams where they've out rebounded us in the 4th quarter, got second chance opportunities, which led to second chance points. And that's impacted the Miami Heat. That tells you a lot. They prioritize getting back on defense, which is great. And they get a lot of defensive rebounds, but they're not crashing aggressively. And that impacts the Miami Heat. They're playing conservative basketball. That's fine until you're playing teams like the Nuggets, the Rockets, or whoever with size, athleticism, and elite shot making. Then you definitely feel the issue of not getting second chance opportunities. So rim protection, like I mentioned, That's also an issue for the Miami Heat. Um, they don't have the size or the positional size for um, them to be a good rim protecting team. So they defend well, but not with vertical athleticism, as my boy Digital Adele would say, or Sean Rochester from the Five Reasons talking about positional size. And this is why games against elite rim pressure teams feel stressful. There's no erase the mistake defender constantly there. There is Khalil Ware, but he is not on the court often. He's only playing 24 minutes per game, which I think needs to change. He's been solid of late, and Spo is giving him more opportunity. But you do see again flashes from guys like Khalil Ware when it actually matters, even though his minutes do fluctuate. So free throws, another issue with the Miami Heat. Not a big issue, but they're average. They're middle of the pack. So free throws made, they're 13th in the NBA. In terms of attempts, they're 14th. That should increase a little bit better when they're fully healthy. Percentage wise, they're 12th. So they're fine. They're not bad. Definitely not elite. They're not living at the line and they're not losing games there either. But I would still like to see them as like a top 7 or 8 team in terms of free throws made, attempted, and percentage. That can definitely help change the trajectory of the season and allow the Miami Heat to win more of these close games that we've been losing in the past, even though right now we're on a 3-game win streak. So that would be huge. Um, so yeah, again, another example of a team that doesn't dominate any single area. The Miami Heat, they survive by stacking up small advantages here and there. And again, the margin for error is going to be the theme. And it's very thin. It's razor thin. So big picture, what does this all mean for this Miami Heat team? Well, the Heat team is still well coached, even though Eric Spoelstra has had his ups and downs this season so far, has had mistakes with rotations, substitution pattern, um, execution of plays, or whatever it may be. Still a very well coached team, still a well organized team and front office. They do have high effort guys like Jaime Jaquez when he's in there, Pella Larson, Davion Mitchell, of course, Bam Adebayo. But the biggest takeaway is if they're not hitting their threes, then it's going to be tough for this team to win. And they're not hitting or they're not taking a lot of threes. So that is the issue. They score through volume and execution, but not through overwhelming talent. But when everything does click, when they are hitting their free throws and getting to the free throw line, hitting their threes, not turning the ball over, getting some offensive rebounds so they do get extra possessions, they look like a dangerous team. They look like a team that can contend in the East. They look like a team that can maybe get into the top 4. Hopefully, at least at minimum, be a top 6 team. I don't want this team to be in the play-in for the 4th season. Just avoid the 7th and 8th seed. Be a top 6 team. That's all I'm asking for. They can frustrate opponents with their defense. They can frustrate opponents with their offense as well. When players like Wiggins are assertive, when Bam's aggressive, and then of course Norm is going to give you that 20 to 25 points per game. So that is going to be huge for the Miami Heat. But the offense does stall. The spacing does collapse. Every possession does feel heavy at times. That's just not randomness. That's just the way the roster is constructed right now. So we're going to see wild swings in performance or extreme games, and on one end or the other. Like, this is just going to be a frustrating type of team that we're going to have to deal with right now. This team has a high floor, but I don't know how high their ceiling really is. They don't have much room for error. And until the Heat either add more offensive creation through a elite point guard through trade, if they add a superstar like Giannis, then of course that's going to change everything overnight. But they need to add more shooting volume. They don't have the Duncan Robinsons or the Max Struces really anymore on this roster, but they can add that maybe through free agency, through trade. They need more vertical athleticism. They need some size. Like, we do need some size off the bench. Like, you need size when it comes to the playoff time, especially against Western teams. I mean, I'm not saying that we're going to play a West team in the playoffs. Obviously, I'm not delusional, but this is who the Miami Heat are. They're competitive, they're annoying, they're dangerous on one night, and then they're freaking limited and horrible another night. Like, that's just the Miami Heat team so far this season. So